Hello and welcome to Golden Fortune Leo. Today's reading is titled Leo, After the Transformation, the Secret Reveals Itself. I approach this as a longtime researcher of astrology, social dynamics, and psychological transformation, bringing a novelist's empathy and a touch of Buddhist clarity to the table. If you are a Leo who somehow stumbled on this message, do not be surprised. Leos rarely stumble. Even your accidents are stylish and impeccably timed, and when spirit taps you it tends to do so with a spotlight and an obliging trumpet. Over the next 3 days the cosmic weather is quieter and deeper than your usual solar fireworks, a season of inward architecture rather than public performance. Imagine a builder number quietly drafting a palace while the rest of the world assumes you are simply shopping for curtains. Psychologically, this is a time when entrenched identity patterns soften and formerly automatic defenses, those proud Leo lion-skin cloaks, begin to shed. In Buddhist terms it is a useful loosening of attachment, an invitation to witness rather than clutch. I view the cards and the archetypal symbols not as destiny's mandates but as diagnostic tools that reveal where your energy is ripe for recalibration, strength tempered with tenderness, a two of wands curiosity about new paths, and the demolition and rebirth sequence that some readers call drastic but I call precise pruning. Socially, your visibility may spike, bringing admirers, skeptics, and perhaps an ally who appears like a white cat at the edge of your narrative, comical, loyal, and oddly on cue, reminding you to laugh when gossip crescendos, because attention is often just applause wearing different clothes. Practically, expect opportunities to realign finances, contracts, or creative projects so they reflect your inner worth, and notice how small kindnesses now attract scalable returns. Spiritually, accept that a secret has been held until you were ready to embody its consequences, and that reveal will feel as if the plot finally serves the protagonist. I combine research with humor because humor steadies the heart during transition. Lean into the absurdity if you must, tell the future you a joke, and keep crafting. Your transformation is not punishment but a careful reordering that prepares you to receive, and yes, expect a modest scandal of self as old patterns collapse and a surprisingly generous outcome arrives, which you will narrate like a novelist but with better hair, truly. Abundance is often presented as a gentle visitor, the kind that knocks politely and waits on the porch with a fresh basket of possibilities, but in this moment for Leo, abundance has apparently decided that subtlety is overrated. The energy kicks down the door, marches straight into the room, and announces itself like it has a keynote speech to deliver. As someone who has spent decades studying the psychological and symbolic language of astrology, especially the unmistakable solar imprint of Leo, I can tell you this much: abundance only storms in like that when a person has quietly, perhaps unconsciously, crossed an internal threshold. And while the word abundance has been tossed around so casually in spiritual circles that it sometimes feels like a decorative slogan on a coffee mug, here it carries a much deeper resonance. In this reading, abundance is not referring to a random financial upswing or a lucky week at work. It signals an energetic expansion, the kind that shifts the axis of your life. Your direction is changing, what you have been laboring toward is accelerating, and something large, something with weight and consequence is aligning behind the scenes, almost like destiny adjusting its furniture to make space for your arrival. What fascinates me about Leo energy, and what years of observation have confirmed, is that Leos rarely stumble into success or alignment by mistake. Your energy is inherently magnetic. It is what psychologists might call a charismatic imprint, the natural confidence that causes people and opportunities to orbit your field. When a Leo is authentic, when you allow your heart to remain perceptive and your creativity to burn without distortion from fear or ego, you become a gravitational center. But the twist, the part that will surprise even the most self-aware Leo, is that the form abundance is taking now is not the one you storyboarded in your imagination. It is not the version you scripted or rehearsed. It is not even the daydream that floats through your mind during a Zoom meeting when you are half listening and half contemplating the meaning of life or what you will have for lunch. This abundance comes with a plot twist, the kind a seasoned novelist might insert when the protagonist is finally ready for a chapter they didn't know they were brave enough to write. Then we encounter the vibration of Master number 22, a number that belongs to those who build from the bones outward. In numerology, 22 is the architect, the structural genius, the engineer of realities that last beyond a single generation. When this number surfaces, it does not hint at momentary influence or fleeting luck, it announces legacy. And I do not mean legacy in the theatrical sense that Leos are sometimes teased for, although, to be fair, you do have a remarkable ability to enter a room and cause every head to turn as if someone suddenly adjusted the lighting. No, 22 points to a deeper, more consequential impact. It signals that a person is ready for leadership, even if they spent the past season feeling lost. It indicates that a foundation is being rebuilt from the ground up, that a transformation is nearing completion, and that a new path quietly paved in the background is waiting for your first step. This aligns uncannily with Leo's elemental nature. Fire signs transform quickly, but fixed fire transforms volcanically. Pressure builds slowly over time, intensifying beneath the surface while the exterior remains composed. And then, seemingly all at once, everything erupts into a new configuration. What many misunderstand about Leo is that your most profound transformations happen internally, not externally. You may appear strong, stable, radiant as if nothing can shake you, while inside you are undergoing a complete rearrangement of emotional architecture. Leos renovate the soul with the same drama and commitment they bring to every other part of life. And I say this with affectionate authority, having watched countless Leos reinvent themselves with such sweeping intensity that even the universe seems momentarily stunned. It is not unusual for cosmic forces to take a respectful step back, whispering to themselves, "They weren't kidding." This phase you're entering is one of those moments. The abundance kicking down the door and the master builder energy rising within you are not random coincidences, they are synchronized signals of a larger awakening. Something old has already ended, whether you admitted it to yourself or not, and something new has already begun drafting its blueprint through your intuition, your restlessness, your quiet longing, and your sudden bursts of clarity. The plot twist is not meant to derail you, it is meant to elevate you. Because in the grand narrative of your life, Leo, you were never meant to stay in the chapters where your fire was dimmed or your purpose was diluted. You were meant to rise, not theatrically for applause, but authentically for evolution. And that evolution, as unmistakable as the sun at dawn, is already in motion. The spiritual psychology at the heart of this reading begins with a conversation about fear, and not the theatrical kind Leo is often accused of enjoying, but the subtle, persistent fear generated by the ego. After decades of studying human behavior, astrology, and the architecture of identity, I've found that the ego behaves much like an overprotective security guard who has memorized outdated policies yet insists they still apply. It doesn't resist change because it despises you, it resists because it is programmed to defend the old version of you, the one built from yesterday's wounds, yesterday's successes, and yesterday's beliefs about what is safe. And when we speak of Leo specifically, we speak of a sign whose sense of self is woven deeply into its solar identity. A Leo's ego is not some flimsy construct, it is a carefully crafted persona, a combination of natural pride, learned resilience, and that unmistakable warmth that draws people in before the Leo has even said a word. Yet the message emerging from this reading is unambiguous and striking: your ego cannot accompany your soul to the next phase. Not because it is unworthy, but because the path ahead demands spaciousness, lightness, and a willingness to shed anything heavy, outdated, or contractual from the past. In Buddhist philosophy, This process is known as releasing attachments not only to physical possessions or desires but to identities, stories, and self-concepts we cling to because they once made us feel safe. Transformation requires surrender, and surrender is not an act of weakness but one of profound strength. It is the moment the warrior sets down the armor because they finally understand that the battle is no longer outside of them but within. For Leo, surrender arrives quietly, almost tenderly. It is not the dramatic moment where violins swell and you collapse into someone's arms, it is the stillness that comes when you finally say, with clarity and just a touch of exasperation, that you are done carrying burdens that no longer belong to you. This subtle admission, this willingness to release, can be one of the most powerful psychological shifts a Leo ever makes. It signals maturity, awakening, and a readiness for the next version of life, one not built on performance or obligation but on truth. Then the tarot makes its entrance, and if this were a film, the soundtrack would deepen into something orchestral and resonant. These cards do not whisper, they announce themselves with the gravity of archetypes that shape destinies. Strength appears first, but not the flamboyant version of Leo that the world often imagines. This is not charisma, not performance, not the commanding presence you can summon even when you are exhausted. This strength is the internal form, the quiet resilience that keeps you steady when no audience is watching. It is the discipline you cultivate privately, the courage you develop in solitude, and the inner sovereignty that does not require applause to feel real. The Two of Wands follows, indicating a shift in direction. It shows a Leo standing at a threshold, contemplating horizons that suddenly feel more magnetic than the safe routines you have outgrown. Life has begun to feel too small, like a sweater that fit you once but now constricts every movement. Change isn't merely possible, it is inevitable. Then we reach the Tower, a card that is often misunderstood as catastrophic when in truth it is merciful. The Tower collapses what you no longer have the strength or clarity to dismantle yourself. In psychological terms, it represents the breaking of structures, relationships, beliefs, habits that are too cramped to house your future self. And the universe, in its characteristically dramatic timing, removes what your courage could not. Death arrives next, and while the name often causes people to flinch, the seasoned reader knows this card symbolizes rebirth, the complete clearing of old timelines, the dissolution of the ego's outdated narratives. Death is the shedding, the composting, the final release of identities that no longer support who you are becoming. Together, Tower and Death form a transformative duet, not a warning. They are the confirmation of what your deeper self already knows. The transformation you've sensed brewing is no longer hypothetical. It is not an incoming storm on the horizon, you are standing in it now. And unlike the storms that once frightened you, this one is purposeful. It clears, it cleanses, it liberates. Change is not approaching. It is already here, sculpting a future that requires a braver, freer, more expansive version of you. Ascension symptoms are one of those topics that make both scientists and mystics raise an eyebrow, yet they sit right at the intersection where psychology, spirituality, and physiology quietly shake hands. When the reading brings up sleep disruptions, emotional spikes, or sudden sensitivity, it is pointing to a process I've seen unfold repeatedly in people undergoing genuine inner transformation. In psychological terms, these symptoms mark the breaking and rewiring of neural pathways, your brain releasing old survival habits and learning new emotional languages. Spiritually, it is the clearing of stagnant or outdated energy, the way a river becomes louder and more chaotic just before it breaks through a blocked passage. Astrologically, this is the subtle tilt of a timeline, a shift in personal destiny that reorients your choices without your conscious permission. And in Buddhist philosophy, it echoes the uncomfortable but necessary stage before awakening, when the mind becomes restless because something deeper within you is trying to rise to the surface. Leos, of course, famously resist stillness, Your fiery nature prefers movement, expression, and big, theatrical declarations. Stillness demands introspection, and introspection brings truths you cannot charm, negotiate, or outshine. Yet over the next 3 days, truth will make its entrance whether you RSVP for it or not, and it may bring the kind of clarity that feels both inconvenient and inevitable. Then comes a trio of tarot energies that operate like cosmic housekeepers: Justice, the Nine of Cups, and the Empress. Justice arrives not with the harshness of a punishing judge but with the calm certainty of someone who already knows the verdict and simply needs to hand you the papers. Balance is being restored. What was taken is being returned, what was distorted is straightening, and what has lingered unresolved is being sorted with quiet efficiency. And before anyone gets excited, justice is not the universe's invitation for revenge fantasies. Spiritually, justice means alignment. It means your life snapping back into the configuration it always should have had. Following this, the Nine of Cups appears, offering emotional fulfillment, not the dazzling, applause-seeking high that some assume Leo always craves, but a quieter, more grounded contentment. It is the wish that took its time to arrive, the victory that doesn't need a spotlight because it finally feels earned. And then, with impeccable timing, the Empress steps in. As someone who has studied archetypes for years, I can say that the Empress is not subtle. She brings abundance in forms that matter: material growth, creative expansion, self-worth upgrades, and a fertile environment for ideas, businesses, relationships, or new chapters to thrive. She represents receiving without apology, flourishing without guilt, and embodying beauty internally first, externally second. This is not gendered energy. Even the most stoic Leo man can find himself entering an Empress season, which simply means his life is about to grow softer, richer, more aligned, and woven with opportunities that feel almost suspiciously well-timed. This is the era of "I receive because I deserve," and Leo, despite your tendency to mask vulnerability with bravado, you are long overdue for this kind of nourishment. Then we approach the emotional heart of the reading, the Eight of Cups. This card is the moment of inner truth, the point at which you stop settling for the almosts in life. Almost happy, almost appreciated, almost loved. These concepts no longer satisfy a Leo whose soul has stretched beyond the boundaries of old emotional compromises. The Eight of Cups marks an internal departure, even if nothing externally changes right away. You may still go to the same job, greet the same people, and participate in the same routines, but internally something has already shifted. You have quietly stepped away from mediocrity, disappointment, and emotional half-light. And when the soul makes that decision, life eventually reflects it. This walking away is not an escape, it is a pilgrimage toward authenticity. The tunnel of light metaphor often used here is not melodramatic. It reflects a near-death-like spiritual rebirth, a moment when clarity arrives so sharply it feels as if you've stepped out of an old skin you didn't realize you had outgrown. Many Leos are already sensing something building: sudden clarity that slices through confusion, emotional releases that feel overdue, a growing magnetic pull toward a direction you can't quite name yet, and an intuitive knowing that something big is approaching. These signals are not illusions or coincidences. Your soul has begun calling you home with a determination that no distraction, no duty, and no outdated identity can drown out. In this stretch of the reading, the appearance of the white cat brings a touch of humor, yet beneath that playful image lies a long-standing spiritual truth. Animals often step into symbolic roles when our intuition is sharpening or when our path requires a guardian with a lighter touch than the stern voices of ancestors or mentors. Whether this cat represents a literal pet perched somewhere in your home, a spirit guide testing your awareness, an unexpected ally entering your life, or the early flicker of your own intuitive awakening, the message rings clear. You are moving into a phase of social elevation, a period when influential people, decision-makers, or individuals with substantial reach begin to take notice of you not because you launched a grand campaign or set out to be impressive, but because your energy has risen to a frequency that naturally draws attention. Leos do not need to announce their glow, your field announces it for you. What's happening now is what some spiritual practitioners call New Earth influence, a type of impact that prioritizes alignment over ambition, authenticity over ego, and purpose over performance. It signals success that no longer depletes you, wealth that carries intention, and influence that comes from resonance rather than force. And, in a moment of cosmic humor that feels almost too on-brand, the reading nudges you with the question of what you would do with millions. Knowing Leos, I suspect many of you already have vision boards, color palettes, philanthropic plans, and a dream home saved on Pinterest, just waiting for the universe to catch up. Beneath this rise in influence lies the true heart of the reading, the secret poised to reveal itself. Something has been hidden from you, someone's feelings, a professional opportunity, a financial opening, a truth about your higher calling, a role you were always meant to occupy, or even a karmic blessing kept in reserve until the rest of your transformation could support it. This concealment was never punishment, it was preparation. In psychology, we understand that individuals can only integrate new realities when their emotional and cognitive frameworks are strong enough to hold them. Spiritually, the same rule applies. Pluto's presence in this part of the reading suggests that the secret was buried deep, held beneath layers of timing, identity, and cosmic choreography. But Pluto, while patient, is never permanent in its silence. As your transformation nears completion, what has been hidden begins to rise. And when it surfaces, it will do so without subtlety. This is not a quiet revelation whispered in a corner but a public, undeniable acknowledgement. A shift that others will see. A moment of recognition that feels intentionally dramatic, almost as if the universe knew that a Leo reveal should never be understated. Spirit has timed this unveiling carefully, and when it arrives, it will affirm what you have always sensed, that your life was leading towards something larger, and that your entrance into this next chapter will be nothing short of cinematic. As we reach the final movement of this reading, the tarot lays out a progression so clear it almost feels like narrative poetry. The Ace of Pentacles arrives first, signaling the emergence of new money, new stability, and new opportunity, the kind of grounded abundance that doesn't evaporate at the first sign of stress. Then the Ten of Swords appears, not as a threat but as a statement of closure. It marks the unmistakable end of a long period of strain, exhaustion, or emotional depletion. In psychological terms, it is the point at which the nervous system finally stops bracing for impact. And just as the dust settles, the Knight of Wands charges in with forward movement, creative fire, and sudden motivation, sometimes even representing a person whose energy jolts you back into passion or purpose. Taken together, this trio practically shouts that the worst is behind you and the best is already on the horizon. The universe is not delivering this as a whisper or a suggestion, it makes the announcement boldly, because it knows Leo energy does not respond well to hints or subtlety. Leos prefer their divine messages like they prefer their entrances clear, confident, and impossible to miss. When we expand the lens to the next 3 to 6 months, the pattern becomes even more striking. This is the period in which a major cycle concludes and a new one begins, not in theory but in lived experience. Emotional fulfillment activates in a way that softens the heart rather than overextending it. You begin to inhabit a higher version of yourself, one with fewer internal contradictions and far more space for joy. The long-hidden secret reveals itself, aligning your inner world with external opportunities, and life shifts into a rhythm that feels sweeter, more grounded, richer in texture and meaning. It is as if the universe steps forward after a long season of silence and finally says, very gently but very firmly, that you have endured enough darkness and the sunlight you were promised is no longer delayed. And now, a necessary moment of humor and honesty, because no Leo reading is complete without it. If the universe gives any sign a challenge, you have a way of turning it into a runway walk, complete with dramatic lighting and a soundtrack. If life collapses a tower around you, you rebuild it with better architecture, better curtains, and a more compelling backstory. And if a secret emerges, you somehow manage to look perfectly styled for the moment, as if you knew all along that destiny's camera was rolling. But the difference this time is profound. The universe is not testing you. It is rewarding you. After transformation comes truth, after truth comes abundance, and after abundance comes Leo in their fullest expression, living in a version of life that feels earned, expansive, and beautifully aligned. So let this be your conclusion. Give yourself permission to enjoy what is arriving. Loosen your shoulders, open your heart, and allow the next chapter to feel as good as it looks. You have done the work. Now comes the experience. And if you found meaning, encouragement, or a spark of recognition in this reading, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Golden Fortune Leo, where we continue exploring the cosmic forces shaping your brightest destiny.